It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you.
Welcome into the Sports Blitz on a Wednesday. We hope you enjoyed the woodshed yesterday. That was a unique experience. Got to visit with Corey Thone and Blake Smith as they talked about pop culture and some sports. We hope you will go check that out every Tuesday. I'm trying to make sure every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And we'll have that posted. Maddie, they were asking about that too, by the way. They said they have legions of fans that are asking where that stinking link is. So, welcome into the Sports Blitz on a Wednesday. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter inside the Cogswell Motors studios. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today, including today's CrossFit Russellville poll question. Hogs basketball got 8 games left in the regular season before the SEC tournament. How many games will they win? What will their record be the rest of the season? Weldon, man, I've got to look at LeBron James and Mount Rushmore. I've got to look at Arkansas's defensive coordinator. He spoke for the first time officially a couple times since we've been on. And some high school sports. Got a lot of good stuff today.
What we do, Mark, you look at Arkansas basketball. We're at that point of the season, and really not just Arkansas, for any bubble team, to where the games really start to count now, because whatever quality games you have on your schedule, they're certainly not numerous, especially if you're an SEC team where quality opponents don't come around very often. If you're Arkansas, you've got a few more opportunities, but not a whole lot in terms of getting business done. So we'll examine the rest of the Razorback schedule and see what their chances are of getting the job done. And Rob Smith, the Arkansas defensive coordinator, we announced he was official earlier this week. He has, Mark, as you said, he's made some media appearances. He's spoken with a few people. And I got to say, Mark, I'm not sure I'm surprised, but at the same time, I did notice there was quite a bit of backlash from his hire. We knew it wouldn't be a fully embraced hire because it wasn't a huge name, although I've maintained, how many huge names can you get as a defensive coordinator? But nonetheless, a lot of backlash because of his limited experience as a play caller. Yes, he coached in the NFL, but it was as a position coach. He was at with Schiano at Rutgers, so not a lot of experience. Some people not too happy.
Yeah, when I saw how much he was making, $500,000 for a defensive coordinator that nobody was really beating down his door. That's kind of I don't love it. I don't love it. I don't mind him as a coach. I think he'll fit in with the scheme of Brett Bielema's plan, but he was kind of another guy. I don't know.
And not just him. People will even tie back to Segrest. Coach Bielema, when he came to Arkansas, he was known for his staff, the staff he had assembled. And, of course, you lose Coach McDonald before you even get started with anything, but you replace him with Michael Smith. You look at his credentials, certainly well qualified, and Coach Shannon, Coach Thomas, and really everybody else on that staff, highly qualified. Coach Partridge coming down with him from Wisconsin. But Rory Segrest, who? This guy was on the Samford staff. That's Sam, not Stan. He was on the Samford staff. And then you get Rob Smith, who coached the Tampa Bay Buccaneers linebackers. Although he was just the linebacker coach, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. Yes, Revis was coming off of an injury, and you had Mark Barron, who was still young, but still, I think they underperformed. Now, he wasn't the secondary coach, but at Arkansas, guess what he's coaching? He's coaching DBs, so that's another something to watch out for.
Yeah, my and I don't want to say it's not anger. It's just a little bit of like, man, you think that they could have got Rob Smith a little cheaper on the fact that, like I said, nobody's beating down his door and nobody's saying, no, come be our defensive. Really? You think anybody in the SEC wants Rob Smith to be their defensive coordinator? I think you could have got him for $300, $350, maybe. Yeah. I don't know what he made last year. Do you?
I'm not sure what he made.
Let me see if I can find what his salary was last year.
And go ahead and look that up. I imagine in the NFL, it's still going to be a handsome salary, even as a position coach. But you're right. I'm not necessarily disappointed in Rob Smith just because I don't know what he can do. We'll see what he does in terms of a fit. I think that's more important than a big name. But to your point, perhaps based on his credentials, you could have gotten him for a lower salary. I mean, you see job postings all the time for jobs in the world, not just sports, but they'll be posted and you'll have a salary range based on your experience. Obviously, the higher end goes to those who have more on their resume. So you would think you could get him for at least somewhere around $400,000, if not less.
And that's where I think people are a little, like you said, Rory Seacrest, who? And then Rob Smith, okay, you keep Randy Shannon along, you give him a pay raise. And the thought that I hadn't really even entertained until I heard about it from some other folks, who call into statewide shows and things like that. And they mentioned, you talked about Brett Beelan being known for his staff, wanting to come to Arkansas so that he could have more money for his staff. He's got more money for his staff.
Right.
And he's able to spend more money. And then he gets guys like Rob Smith and Rory Seacrest. They better work out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and the thing, you look at the two departures from the staff. Obviously, Charlie Partridge, he went to be a head coach, so he almost doesn't count. The Chris Ash, that's the one we're kind of scratching our heads. But again, he went to Ohio State and took less money. So it's one of those deals where you're going to lose coaches, but who you're replacing really matters as well. And so, again, we're going to have to see how these guys work out. I get staff chemistry. That's the point I made earlier. But at the same time, until those coaches have proven themselves, I'm very understanding of the questions that the fans may have.
And I don't know how much he made at Tampa Bay, but a quick search showed that he made $294,000 at Rutgers his last year, so I'm sure he got a decent enough raise. So to $500,000 now is probably par for what he made before, maybe a little bit more than what he made before. But man, that's as a defensive coordinator. On the flip side, Todd Grantham just went to Louisville, $1 million a year. So he's half that. Maybe that's justification. You're half as good as you're half as proven as Todd Grantham.
I take unknown Rob Smith over Todd Grantham, though. I tell you that.
We'll have to see. I mean, maybe a couple years from now, we're talking about what a bargain it was to have Rob Smith. So. Well, we just stole from our Hog Talk segment. We'll revisit that later on in the show, and we'll talk a little Hogs. Most of the Hog Talk is going to be about the basketball program. Got that win on the road at Vanderbilt. Got a game tomorrow night against Missouri. It'll be a 6:00 tip on the road. If you remember the game last year against Missouri, wasn't pretty. No. So Arkansas looking to go win 3 games in a row, 2 games in a row on the road. I'm not sure the world could handle it if Arkansas won 2 games in a row on the road.
I don't, and we are going to talk about this later. One thing that's interesting, and I don't know if Arkansas and Jeff Long pushed for this. Whoever did it, I'm glad, because remember when Missouri came to Arkansas, what time the game started? 6:00. There was nobody in the stands. Arkansas came out flat, got behind, set the tone for the game. Well, the return trip to Missouri, I don't know if somebody from Arkansas said it, but they said, look, you're going to start this game at Missouri at 6:00 too. You're not going to have an early start in Fayetteville and then go to Columbia and have it start at 8:00 in front of a raucous crowd in Missouri. If it starts 6 in Fayetteville, it's going to start at 6 in Columbia. So maybe Arkansas can get the benefit of possibly a dead Missouri crowd. Lord knows they need all the help they can get.
This is the kind of analysis that you get from Mr. Weldon Braxton. I would have never even thought about the start time when it happened. Now, if it was 11:00 in the morning, I'd have thought, yep. It's like the football 11:21 college football broadcast where just like people wake up, they can't even get good and drunk by then.
Yeah.
Nah, they'll give it a whirl, but they don't quite get good and liquored up before 11:00 most of the time. So maybe that will have an impact.
Like
the 6:00 tip.
The 2012 season, Arkansas had gotten bad, and they kept playing at 11:20 because they get all the bad time slots. There's Arkansas again plays at 11:20 for the 5th straight week.
Yeah, and I hope it doesn't happen again this year. We'll see. So today's CrossFit Russellville poll question: with those 8 games remaining, what will Arkansas's record be? How many of those games will they win? And will that be enough to get them into the NCAA tournament, NIT, CBI, LFO, LMFAO, all those those tournaments?
Whatever.
We'll see about that. Let's move real quickly to our local sports look. We've got high school basketball taking place across the area here in the River Valley. Man, we've mentioned it before. There are several really good teams right now competing for conference championships. Russellville Cyclones, I think it was their first game to lose to a non-Little Rock school in conference play. They lost to Northside last night. Now, the Northside girls are one of the nation's best teams, definitely one of the state's best, and they got the win. But then the boys fell as well. Tony Jones out with an injury. I don't know if you heard about this the other day, but he got in a car wreck.
Yeah.
And he's still dealing with the effects of that, and we wish him the best as he tries to return to the floor. But if I'm not mistaken, he's the one who hit the three to beat Northside last time, hit the game-winning three, so it has an impact on the Russellville Cyclones not having him.
Yeah, I mean, not having Tony Jones, I mean, he's a junior. He's somebody who's gotten better. I remember when he was a sophomore, he kind of struggled a little bit to play that point guard position, but he's gotten a lot better, and he's been a big-time shot maker for Russellville. But, they lost to Northside. As you mentioned, they were able to get them at home. Of course, the Grizzlies, I'm sure, were refocused, ready to play at home. And they got the better of the Cyclones, and well, you know how this league works. It doesn't get much better unless you're taking on a Greenwood or a Catholic or maybe a Southside. It doesn't get any easier. And, of course, Russellville will be hosting Little Rock Parkview on Friday. So, it doesn't get much easier. Then you have that makeup game against Conway coming up next week. So that'll be one for Russellville that, I would say get back on track. But you know what? Maybe they'll pull it off against Parkview and Conway. Who knows? But in the end, again, tough loss to Northside. Got to get ready for Parkview.
Yeah, Parkview's going to be a tough one. Are they still number one in the state
I
overall?
believe so, yeah. Goodness, put that in perspective.
If you think about it, if Parkview is number one in the state and they lost their best player from last year to North Little Rock, I mean, Anton Beard could be something there at Parkview. Man, that's a squad right there.
And I love Park. My only problem with Parkview, maybe is this a tradition. You can fill me in. I don't like the two-tone home uniforms. I don't even know
the red, white, and blue.
Yeah, I'm not feeling the red shorts with the white jersey. It's just if we're AAU or Boys and Girls Club, I get it. But you're talking sanctioned school ball, really two-tone uniforms. I don't know.
When we played against Parkview in a tournament once, they had like stripes down the side, and they looked sweet.
Were they like solid?
I think they were white jerseys with like blue and red stripes down the side, and they look cool.
Well, the shorts the same?
The same color.
Yeah,
I don't know about wearing different color shorts.
They came out one game with red shorts and white jersey, and I don't know. I wasn't feeling it.
That's more analysis you'll only get on the Sports Blitz, talking about the color of the jerseys. We're here for men and women. We know our women only care about the color of the jerseys, and they'll pick a better bracket than us when the NCAA tournament comes along because of that.
Isn't that a shame?
Yeah. Last night, saw Clarksville play for the second time in as many nights as they got a win, 51-42 over Greenbrier. I know that Clarksville was a little tired from talking to some folks, and I know that they were a little shorthanded as their rotation was cut down a little bit last night. But 2 games in 2 nights, 2 wins at home. It's just hold and serve for those guys as they needed to win all their games and then beat Morrilton the last game of the 5A West Conference slate to win the conference championship. Morrilton last night won on a layup at the buzzer. They got a steal with a couple seconds left, went down layup at the buzzer and win the game against Valonia, who, if you'll remember, gave Clarksville all they wanted at Clarksville a couple weeks ago. So big win for Morrilton over Valonia. Big wins Monday and Tuesday night, and back-to-back nights for Clarksville over Alma and Greenbrier. They've got to hold serve, like we said, in the rest of their conference slate just to have a chance to play Morrilton in the final game of the conference season to win. They're traveling to Shiloh Christian on Friday night, as is Clarksville. So 5A West play heating up.
Yeah, 5A West is heating up, Mark, and it's really turned out to be a pretty solid conference. I mean, you look at the teams who were expected to play well, the Clarksvilles of the world, the Harrisons, the Alamos. Now you throw in a Morrilton, Greenbrier, even Valonia showing themselves to be pretty well.
There are a lot of good teams in 5A West.
A lot of good teams, and you look at that stretch Clarksville has coming up. You mentioned Shiloh Christian on the road. We expect for them to take care of business there, but then you got to go to Valonia, a team that gave you fits on your home floor. Then you host Harrison and Morrilton. I mean, that's going to be a stretch that if the Panthers can go undefeated through there, I mean, they're going to be looking really good.
And as I mentioned some of these scores here in a minute, or some of these games here in a minute, there are some games that are going to need to be made up this week, and some teams playing odd nights. Clarksville playing Monday night was a makeup game from Friday. some of these other teams are going to have to play a couple times this week, and we may not have all the information on when those teams play. You can email Mark at rivervalleyleader.com with your information from your team. I know Atkins got beat last night by Mansfield. They're traveling to Danville on Friday. Dardanelle, I believe that, they lost last night to Maumelle. They are at, let me see, where are we at here? Their final game of the conference slate is against Boonville at home on Friday night. We're about to be in 4A4 action here in a minute. Dover beat, actually they lost to Pottsville last night. They have Waldron at home on Friday night. We'll just see if Waldron can get out. They've been stuck at home for a long time, haven't been able to play any games, so they're having to make up a bunch of games. Mulberry, Hector's at Mulberry, where they were yesterday. That was the final game of their 2A regular season. Lamar played Charleston last night. They're at Paris Friday night. We mentioned Pottsville at Dover. Russellville, we mentioned where they're at. Two Rivers played last night against Danville. They're at Mansfield on Friday night. But Pottsville got a win last night over Dover, 68-32. They're starting to roll, starting to come together there for Coach Thurman's boys team. And then a big shout out to the Pottsville girls. The Lady Apaches win the 4A4 10-0 in the conference. They've locked up the conference championship 16-4. I don't know if they're going to go for the Peyton Manning is what I like to call it, the Peyton Manning route, where they set him at the end of the regular season to avoid him getting hurt, or if they're going to go for winning every game. I have a feeling Coach Johnson and those guys are going to go to win every game in the conference slate, go into the 4A4 district tournament undefeated, and they've got a good shot this year at winning the district tournament, going into regionals and even state. The Pottsville Lady Apaches, congratulations to them and the boys on a good night last night.
Yeah, and it's good to see Pottsville going. You playing Dover, especially on the men's side, you expect to get the job done. They did. On the women's side, we know they've been one of the better teams in the state for the last few years in Class 4A, so it's good to see that from them. I was just thinking, they beat Dover. I was talking to a few people, I know from Dover, and every time the class rankings come out and they just barely stay in 4A, they're just like, gosh, why can't we drop down to 3A? I know a lot of people want to do it. They're always one of the bottom teams as far as enrollment to make it up to Class 4A, but, and they compete, on the football field. They're trying to get better basketball as well, but, you want to see Dover do well, and hopefully they can get more competitive.
They've got some work cut out for them, and it sounds like from what I've heard through the grapevine, there might be some changes coming, but we don't know. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens whenever that time comes. And those decisions are made. I may have some more breaking news in the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned. So we're going to hit a break. When we come back, we got a old school baller on the line. He wants to talk some sports. We're also going to look at a man named Rashawn Evans. You may not know that name, but you'll hear a little bit about him in a minute. And LeBron James, does he belong on the NBA's Mount Rushmore?
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out rivervalleyleader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
We're back on the Sports Blitz on a Wednesday, and we're joined on the phone line by Mr. Old School Baller. We got Weldon Braxton, Matty Lassiter, and I, Mark Freeman, here in the Cogswell Motors studios. Old School Baller, what's on your mind, man?
How you guys doing this morning?
Doing well, doing well.
Just like to get y'all's comments on a couple of situations I've got in my mind today. You know, y'all brought up some high schools and coaches. Joe Foley, why do you think he is, or maybe he has, but I'm not aware of it, why has he not ever got a high-profile coaching job? You know, ULR's all right, but I mean, he's destined for bigger things. Personally, I think he's one of the better coaches, girls coaches in Arkansas. Well, he is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's the best girls college level coach in Arkansas. And why the U of A puts up with what they've got up there, I can't understand it. I think Joe would be a tremendous shot in arm to that program up there if he had the job. Now, he may have been offered the job. I just never did hear that he did. And also, Ricky Smith at Port Smith Northside. I mean, year after year after year, he consistently wins. And I'd like to see him move up and start coaching at the college level as well. I think he's capable, and I think he's paid his time. He's paid his dues. He's ready. I was talking about the Dover situation a while ago, guys. I don't know what's going on up there, but they just need to get more competitive.
And you got some Dover ties, don't you?
But I live almost in Dover, and I spend a lot of time up there and know a lot of people. And there's a little bit of unrest up there. I don't know what's going to happen, but something needs to, seems to me like. Okay, guys, I'll back out here and listen. Enjoy your show. Y'all have a great day. Looks like we're going to have a fantastic weekend. Hope y'all get to enjoy it.
All right. Thank you, Old School
All
Ball.
right.
Let's address those as they came. Joe Foley, he's great. Arkansas Tech loves Joe Foley. He's a legend around these parts, and you know there is question as to what in the world is keeping Joe Foley where he is, because maybe he is a bigger legend in Arkansas than he is anywhere else. You know, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that's the only place that people. I don't know though. He seems like a very well respected man and coach, and I don't know if he's had bigger offers and turned them down, or if he stayed in the state of Arkansas because of that's just where he wanted to be.
Yeah.
Or if he hadn't had any other opportunity. So.
Yeah, I think when you look at Coach Smith and Coach Foley, I think Coach Smith's his situation is different because he's a high school coach. And I'm not sure. I'm not saying I know the exact reason why. I don't think anybody would know unless you were to ask Coach Foley, why he's remained at UALR. But I would ask this question, or I would at least put this out there. When you look at the movement and the high turnover and job switching and what you see in men's basketball and you see in college football, part of the reason is there's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of money at stake. Not only the coach's salary, but how much the program brings into this university, and of course the salary does matter. I think it's possible that when you coach women's basketball, the scale between comfort and financial dominance, so to speak, is a little more balanced than in men's basketball, where the next big opportunity, the next big job, or get out before I get fired. I think there's so much money and things in place to where comfort sort of takes a back seat when you talk about men's basketball and the big jobs and the dollars that are involved. And not saying that women's basketball coaches make peanuts, but at the same time, there's still not as much money involved as there is on the men's side. And so because of that, I think there's a tendency to maybe step back and look at comfort. I'm in Arkansas. I'm a legend in Arkansas. I make good money. I mean, I'm comfortable. I'm coaching. I'm putting a team in position to compete year after year. And I'm not sure if the drive to move around a lot is there the way you see it in the upper level men's game.
And, I'm familiar with some of the family of Coach Ricky Smith at Fort Smith Northside, and I know that he's being taken care of there at Northside from what I've heard. I think he's got an administrative role aside from coaching. So you know the administrative pay is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then you get that coaching pay also, and they take care of him to keep him around. He's got a Nike sponsorship for his team. They get all their gear from Nike, and that's just one of a handful of teams in the country that really get, I say a handful, not very many teams in the country that get that sort of treatment. So the fact that he gets hooked up by Nike to coach these girls and have this great team every year, he's probably sort of happy where he is. And I know he's from around here. He is from Arkansas. I will tell you this. Now this was all rumor last year before, going back a little while, that Coach, I just went blank on it, Tom Collin, the women's basketball coach at the University of Arkansas, was going to be replaced by Joe Foley, whose assistant was going to be Ricky Smith. That was the rumor that went around last year before. Don't know if that was even anywhere in the realm of possibility, if he was even talked to about it. But I know that it was a rumor that went around, and there were some folks from around here that I know should know that were aware of the rumor. They wouldn't confirm, deny, if there was anything to it, but I'll ask Coach Smith if he has something he would say to why haven't you moved up to the college ranks? Maybe it is like you said, the pay difference would probably be, and the responsibility difference would change. And he's been at Fort Smith Northside 20 years, so it's been he's pretty well dug in there. So that's a good thought. And then Dover, as we mentioned before, they've got some competition issues. Let's put it that way. They can't. It's hard for them to compete with the conference that they're in, and the fact that you just can't make kids more athletic. You can't just make kids born better athletes. Michael Perry's at Pottsville, they don't just come along every year. So Pottsville, who knows how they would be if it weren't for a class last year that I was looking back, unbelievably loaded, 8 or 9 guys who could really, really play. And it just doesn't happen all the time. So maybe Dover's in one of those cycles where it's just rough. But, Old School Baller mentioned in the break, the last 20-win basketball season they had was 1995. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to speculate as to what they need. Yeah. But it's just probably right now going to be really tough with where they are in conference and what they've got enrolled to really compete at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, and I brought up the enrollment situation. I do think that plays a role, but I think we'd be naive to think that other things aren't at play. And again, I'm not close enough to the situation to be specific in terms of knowing exactly what that is. But you look at a lot of different things. When you have a program that's struggling in different sports at different levels, there's a tendency to look around and see what else the issues may be. Like I said, I know people in Dover. I know they want to compete, and I'm sure sooner or later they're going to get the ship righted.
Well, let's move on real quickly. It looks like we're about to have a caller on the line. Who we got? Jason? I'm taking him from you, Maddie, right now. I took him.
Okay.
Jason, I just stole you from Maddie. I took you and put you on the air. So everything you just said, all those curse words, we heard every one of them. What's going on, Jason?
Hey, what's going on? Did y'all just hear what I was saying?
What were you saying?
Oh, okay. Well, I was talking about the Old School Baller there, who and then y'all just threw me on, so I didn't know that I was about to be put on it.
Oh no, you're on.
You're talking about Dover, and Dover, when I was playing there, my senior year we had won 20 games in basketball, and it was the first time in 25 years that Dover had won 20 games in basketball, and they haven't won 20 games in basketball since then. And it just seems like, I don't know what the problem is. It seems like, they try to pass all those millage and stuff to get a, football facility and do some upgrades with the school and stuff, and they always get turned down. So I don't know if Dover's going in the wrong direction. And like Will was saying, it might help them out if they do move down to 3A. But it just seems like the community, now this is just my opinion, it just seems like the community is not getting behind the athletics and giving them everything they need. And I understand if you build a new football, center and all that stuff, it's not going to, all of a sudden overnight you're going to be a championship team. I understand that. But I think that the community needs to get behind the players and athletes more and try to give them what they need to be successful in the future.
We'll see. I know they were turned down again for the millage increase yesterday, so finished up Dover School millage vote last night. So, Jason, before we get you out of here, I don't know if you had any other thoughts, but Rob Smith, I guess we've heard from you since it's been official. You got any thoughts on him being the new defensive coordinator?
Man, when I first heard about it, I was like, who? Who is this guy? He's coming from Tampa, which I'm a Tampa fan, and I knew he was the linebackers coach, but it wasn't like he was something special there. And then, at Rutgers, he was a Rutgers coach, So the two coaches that he got, Segrest and Smith, they only got them from Samford and Rutgers. It's not really two powerhouses that you think of, but, when I did a little bit more research and study on Smith, I seem to kind of like him. He's a younger guy. I think he's only like 37 years old. What he did at Rutgers, he had a really good defense. He's one of the top scoring defenses in the country. He's a good special teams coach. So I'm anxious to see what he can do up there.
All right. You got anything else on your mind?
Are you about to go to break?
Well, here in a little bit. What's up?
Well, I was just going to make some other comments here.
Go for it.
You're talking about Arkansas, what they're going to do these last 8 games. The best I can see them is 4-4, and that's winning the 4 home games and losing the 4 road games, which that's not going out on a limb by any chance of imagination there, but I think that's probably what's going to happen. And I think, I don't think they're going to win Thursday, and I think Saturday's game is going to be a tough game. I think LSU is really starting to play better, and their inside, just hurt us last time, and I think it's going to hurt us again this time too. So I'm saying 4-4 on the basketball at best. Mount Rushmore, me and you were kind of talking about a little bit yesterday. I sent you a message on Twitter, but LeBron thinks he doesn't think he's there, but and before he retires, he's going to be one of the top 4 players in the basketball, hands down, no doubt about it. He's definitely not going on a limb by saying that. And right now, I would have to say Jordan's on there on my Mount Rushmore. Kobe, of course, I'm a Lakers fan, so I've got to throw Kobe on there. Bill Russell is probably my other one, and then it's really a hard decision on that last one, but I'm probably going with Larry Bird. And that's just mine right now, but I could definitely see LeBron pushing Larry Bird to the side and being on the Final 4 of Mount Rushmore in the NBA when he's all said and done.
Jason, what was that for again? I just make sure.
I've got Jordan, Kobe, Bill Russell, and right now I'm probably putting Larry Bird on it.
All right.
But when LeBron's done, I'm probably replacing Bird with LeBron.
So you've got Kobe as better than Larry Bird right now too, and Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Wilt Chamberlain and Oscar Robertson and all the guys that everybody else has mentioned is their top 4. I like it.
It's a hard. There's so many good players that's been to the NBA. You could even probably have Shaq. Shaq could be up there. Karl Malone might be another one. If you're talking about point guards, John Stockton might be up there. There's just so many names. You could probably put 30 guys up on the Mount Rushmore in the NBA that have arguably enough, winning championships and MVPs and all that stuff to be all considered for the top 4. So, that's just my Final 4, and it's hard to really pick 4 out of the NBA though.
Yeah, we remember when we did this on the air in Little Rock. We did that Sports Night show for Grant. That was a lot of fun. We did the Yankees and then the NBA, I think.
Yeah.
And I think we had a all-time Final Four Mount Rushmore too. I think
of all-time athletes.
Yeah.
That was fun.
We did.
That one was really fun. All right, Jason, you got anything else?
No, man. That's about it.
All right, man. You have a good day. Call us back on Friday.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right, we got to hit a break real quick. When we get back, I want to talk about that LeBron Mount Rushmore conversation, and then if we can get to it today, the Auburn athlete, the athlete from Auburn territory, and I think he from Auburn High School. I think that's what it was. But he was from Auburn, Alabama, and he committed to play at the University of Alabama. Big no-no for those folks in that town, and they're ostracizing him in a big, big way. He's literally being harassed, and there are some folks who are telling local businesses not to serve him. Sounds a little bit familiar.
Like last year. Remember Foster, from Auburn, and he went to Alabama.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I wouldn't go to Auburn if I heard about that kind of stuff. I would I don't want anything to do with Auburn because if they don't like me, they'll just stop serving me dinner. All right, we'll look at those two things and plenty more right after the break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
One of my favorite subjects to talk about in all the world, NBA and LeBron James. I know
Forget
Brad
the
Caldwell
NBA.
is listening right now. I'm sure he is, and he and Jason are just shaking their heads about how much I love my boy LeBron James. It goes all the way back to 2001, 2002, as we're sophomores and juniors in high school. You know, back in the day when we were boys, and he was at St. Vincent St. Mary's, and I was at Clarksville, and we were, in the same grade. And didn't have a clue who one another were. But no, LeBron, been a favorite of mine for a long time. Loved watching him play, loved watching him grow, and I love this new evolution that I'm seeing from LeBron James, where he's a little bit cocky, a little bit more confident in himself. And I don't know where the conversation came from, but somebody asked LeBron James if he would where he would put himself in the pantheon of all-time greats, if he would put himself on the Mount Rushmore, so to speak. And for those not familiar, Mount Rushmore is a national monument, and there are four presidents' faces. So when people say the Mount Rushmore of this or that, they're saying pick the top four, the most influential four of said sport or whatever it is. And LeBron was asked who he would have in his Mount Rushmore of the NBA if he would be on that, and he's like, yeah, and I'll be on there eventually. And I want to quote him correctly, the line that he said, because I thought it was hilarious the way he said it. He said, I'm not on it yet, but he said they better make room for me, and if anybody wants me or doesn't want me on that Mount Rushmore, they better find another spot, because if he's not top four, he's going to be in there eventually. He said, I'm going to be one of the top four that's ever played this game. If they don't want me on Mount Rushmore, they better find another spot. I love what he has to say, and I agree that eventually, he's not there yet, but eventually he's going to be one of the four greatest players of all time.
And I really wouldn't have a problem with him being there right now. I mean, look, 2 rings makes a huge difference. First of all, I believe that confidence you spoke of, believe that came from having 2 rings. And I mean, look, he's starting to win championships. He's got the talent. He's always had the talent. We just question, can he close? Can he put some jewelry on his hand? And does he have as much as some of the other greats? No, not yet. But he's in pursuit of his 3rd, and he'll have opportunities to win more in the years to come. So for me, I don't really have an issue with him being there. I think Jason, in the last segment, made a great point. I don't believe there's a definitive 4. I believe there's a truckload of guys who are really close, guys who probably we would never even consider, but they're not too far off some of the guys we are putting on there. We would consider to be on there. So again, I don't think it's far-fetched for LeBron. I mean, I think Larry Bird right in that mix in terms of who I would consider to be battling for that 4th spot. I mean, to me, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson are locks. They're not debatable, and I'm a pretty agreeable person. I'll work with you on some things. I'm not working with you on those 2 whatsoever.
No, I'm with you.
They're on the list. And then I think from then on, there's room for debate. I think you look at a Kobe Bryant, 5 championship rings. I think what's really important for Kobe's legacy is the fact that he was the primary driving force of 2 of his 5 rings. He does get credit for the others with Shaq, but we know he had Shaquille O'Neal.
The Shaq, yeah.
The Shaquille, that's right, the Shaq. Driving force of the team that beat the Boston Celtics, driving force behind the team that beat the Orlando Magic. That elevates him. I would probably have him on my list as well, but there's so many others you could choose from.
If I had to pick it right now, this is going to sound like sacrilege to a lot of folks that are NBA fans. If I'm going to put LeBron James on there one day, I'm going to have to knock off either Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Bill Russell. Bill Russell won 11 championships.
He did.
He was incredible. Now, this, like I said, this is going to sound sacrilegious to a lot of folks. He won 11 championships when there were 8 teams in the league, and they had 5 of the 6 or 10 best players in the world on the same team. So, he gets a little bit more credit, I think, than he would get today because they're playing in a 30-team league and the talent's more spread out.
Yeah.
He's not winning as many championships as he did, but he is an all-time great. He's changed the game. He's one of those guys. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the league's all-time leading scorer. He has to get credit for revolutionizing the college game. They couldn't dunk because of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in college, Lou Alcindor in college. So those 2 go with Magic and MJ on my list. One of those 2, Kareem or Russell, probably Bill Russell, is going to leave my top 4 if LeBron James is to make it. And that's leaving off Wilt Chamberlain, who, dude averaged 40-plus points a game several times. Oscar Robertson, one of the all-time greats. And Bill Russell, who won 11 championships in his career, was an all-timer. And LeBron James, I think, that puts him in a great spot. That's above Kobe, in my opinion, because, like you said, 3 championships were, here you go. My name is Shaquille O'Neal, and nobody can stop me. So Kobe was great. He wasn't ever in those first 3 championships the driving force that LeBron James has been in his career. So he's only going up from here. No, he's not going to compete in the dunk contest. And there you go. We've hit it all.
I mean, there's so many guys. Bill Russell, if I were just doing impact on the game, he would be number 1. He's ahead of Michael Jordan for me in terms of just thumbprint on the game and the way we look at it today. I mean, Michael would be close, but I just think his impact and the reverence he commands, the respect he commands, Bill Russell would be my number 1. So I certainly want to acknowledge him. I'm just looking strictly from the standpoint of performance, greatness. Kareem was great too in his heyday. You even go back to when he was with Milwaukee playing with Oscar Robertson. I feel like the thing with Kareem that kind of holds him back, whether it's fair or unfair, is kind of like Hank Aaron. And Kareem was a better player than Hank Aaron was in baseball, to me, top to bottom, even though Hank Aaron was great. But some people look at Aaron's home run record as a result of longevity. Some people look at Kareem's scoring record as a result of longevity. I think there's a little bit to do with both. He was one of the all-time great players. That's the primary reason for his scoring. But because you look at point per game average, Michael Jordan, some would argue, is the all-time leading scorer just because he has the highest average. But that being said, I think all those guys deserve a tremendous amount of respect.
And just to look, I know Bill Russell played from 56 to 69, so he played in what was the golden age at that point, obviously, in the NBA for the Boston Celtics. His career average is 15 points, 22.5 rebounds a game. Now he's playing against 6'5" white guys.
Yeah.
I say it every time. He's playing against 6'4" white guys, and he's 6'10". So he had an inherent advantage in the fact that he could jump and they couldn't. But he also averaged in his playoff career 16 points and 25 rebounds a game for his entire career. Won 11 championships. Player coach wins the championship in his mid-30s there.
Yes, an impact.
He was an all-time great, like you mentioned. But I think you have to take those stats with a grain of salt, knowing how different the league was than what it is now. So the fact that LeBron's even in the conversation, I think, is cool. And I just love the way he has come out. Several years back, I don't want to talk about that. And now he's like, no, you know what? You want me in the dunk contest, but I don't want to be in it, so I'm going to be throwing a ball off the wall and slamming it down and put it on YouTube.
That was something.
You want to talk about all-time greats and how I'm not quite there yet, and I'm just going to tell you now, I'm going to be in the top 4. I love the confidence.
I do too, Mark. And see, we're running close to our hog talk, but I do want to at some point look at the NBA race too. You have look at the dynamics where they're at right now. Oklahoma City is hot. Kevin Durant is hot. Russell Westbrook coming back. Then you look in the East, again, a 2-horse race. A lot of people think the Pacers are going to pull it off this year. I'm still not sure. I think the Pacers will get the 1 seed. I think the Pacers will top to bottom be the better team. But there's a difference between being better and flat out getting it done in a game 7.
That's
you can say, they had the best record. They were most consistent top to bottom. What about when it comes time to get it done actually in the 7th game? I'm still rolling with LeBron James. I still think D-Wade maybe a little bit hurt, but I think he's playing more possum right now.
You know who got the 2 seed in the East last year?
Miami.
The New York Knicks.
That's right, New York Knicks. That's right.
That's how much that matters.
That's true.
Ask Oklahoma City in the NBA Finals 2 years ago what they think about having home court advantage over Miami. Miami wins 1 of 2 in Miami, lose game 1, and they win game 2 in Miami, and then they go to Oklahoma City and win 3 in a row at Oklahoma City. So
right.
I don't think they care where they play. Don't really care who they play. I do want to point out that Indiana has been incredible. And the fact that they picked up Andrew Bynum, whether they'll play him or not, they kept him away from Miami.
That's right.
And that's going to help them depth-wise if Roy Hibbert were to have to sit for any length of time. If they get anything from Andrew Bynum, it's pretty good, and they'll be deep. I'm not going to lie to you. As a Miami supporter, a LeBron James fan, I'm worried that they can beat Indiana. That's going to be a tough one. So we'll see how that goes, but I can guarantee you that Miami is not worried about what seed they get in the NBA playoffs.
Keep this in mind. Superstars put the jewelry on. That's all I got to say.
I just want to see Dwayne Wade play healthy. He's sitting out with migraines. And I think part of this is the old Shaq treatment where they just, we're going to give you a couple of days off this week just because, and maintenance rest is really sort of what I think it is for Dwayne Wade. So we'll see how he performs after the All-Star break. Maybe a guy like Greg Oden can become more of a factor for the Miami Heat. We've got about 10 minutes left. I'll be back right after this break to talk Arkansas Razorback basketball, a little bit more about Rob Smith as the defensive coordinator as well.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out rivervalleyleader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Today's CrossFit Russellville poll question. Arkansas's 8 games left in the SEC basketball schedule. What will their record be? I have a hard time going more than 3 wins over the next 8 games, and I'll tell you why. You got Missouri tomorrow night, 6 o'clock on the road. We know how Arkansas played on the road. Can Lightning strike twice in a row? No. Missouri's going to win that game. LSU at home on Saturday. LSU already put a hurting on Arkansas a couple weeks ago. The worst loss of the year, as far as I can remember, as far as score goes. I think it was exactly the same as. No, it's actually more than the
Gonzaga. There's more than that.
No, it's the Texas A&M game is the worst one. So there's only been one other loss that's as bad as the LSU game so far this year. I have a hard time believing they're going to be able to stop a guy like Johnny O'Brien in that game. So if you do give that one a win, okay, that's fine. South Carolina not very good, so you can win that game. Mississippi State is a possible win, and then I think Georgia. Okay, maybe you win 4 at most. I still think LSU is going to be a hard win. You're not going to beat Missouri. You're not going to beat Kentucky. Probably not going to beat Ole Miss. And Alabama, you're on the road again. So I have a hard time going above 3, and that's 4 home games. I don't think you're going to win out there. You could win 3 of those 4, and then if you win 1 on the road, I can see you getting to 4.
Yeah. I'm somewhere in the neighborhood of 4-4, 5-3. I think they can get to 5. I don't believe they're going to win on Thursday night against Missouri. But I do look at the schedule, and I'm looking at the LSU game. It will be tough. They do have a lot of length inside and athleticism. But Arkansas did make a run in that game, and they're playing a little bit shorthanded. Of course, that was the Qualls-Harris suspension game. I mean, not saying Harris has been lighting it up, but, he's somebody you're used to having. And, again, Arkansas made a run in that game. It's all going to be about, how much the home crowd they're able to feed off of it. I think with Arkansas now winning some games, getting the crowd back engaged and excited, the fan base is a little more stirred up since they've won some games. I think they'll be back to their raucous selves that we saw from them before they started losing a couple of games. South Carolina, I believe that's a W. Mississippi State, I can't bank on that. I think it'll be tough. I would actually put that in the loss column for now. Kentucky, that's going to be a loss. Georgia at home, Georgia's terrible. I'm sorry. They're not very good. You look at Arkansas, they only scored 29 points against the Razorbacks at home. Arkansas gave them the game in Georgia. I expect for them to win that game. I mean, Ole Miss has ability. We know about Henderson, but again, when his shots aren't falling, they're not the most dynamic offensive team. They're playing away from home. I'm certainly not going to rule Arkansas out in that game. And then Alabama on the road will be tough. Alabama's half-court defense is one of the better defenses in the SEC. That'll be tough. So if I'm looking, I'll say Missouri, I'll say Kentucky, and Alabama with losses, maybe Mississippi State. So 4-4, 5-3 for me.
Looking at the schedule, Weldon laid it out right there. I think you've got 4 teams, Kentucky, Ole Miss, LSU, and Georgia, who have winning records in the SEC right now. You play at Kentucky. You play at, let me see, who else do we have? At Missouri. So 2 of those teams that with winning records you're playing at home, 2 of them you're playing on the road. And then you've got some bottom feeders. South Carolina, if you lose to South Carolina, everybody should be fired. They're horrible. Mm-hmm. And then you don't get Auburn, but you get Mississippi State. But you get them at the hump, and that's always a tough play. Even when Arkansas is clearly the better team, go down to that crap hole, and it's a horrible game. And it's just dark and musty. And I'm sure I've never been in there, but but just looking
looks
at it
musty.
and listening to the announcers call the game, you can tell they hate being in that place.
Can we? Is that another thing we can get in? How about some of the SEC atmospheres around the league? I mean, really, Tucker Coliseum would be an upper level atmosphere in the SEC. I'm not even kidding.
When it's rocking for sure.
No, because you look at, I think that's one reason why Arkansas struggles on the road is there's no energy. I think Arkansas would be better if they had adverse energy than no energy whatsoever. I mean, Tennessee kind of had a little noise going, wasn't great. Arkansas played pretty well, but you get Arkansas in a gym where there's like 4,000 people and it's real quiet, and I think that's when they really struggle.
Yeah, that's one of the problems, that they play in some gyms.
Yeah,
not some arenas. They play in several gyms. Auburn, they went from an arena to a gym. They're just like, we suck and we're always going to suck. So we're going to build this really nice high school facility.
Yeah.
and we're going to go with that. Poor guys. But Arkansas, maybe. Hey, surprise me, guys. Just surprise me. You surprised me on Saturday. Maybe you could do it again. If they beat Missouri, good Lord. You just watch the crowds. People will turn.
Suck them back in.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll just rip our hearts out against LSU and get beat by 20 at home. So you win 3 games in a row, 2 of them on the road. Oh, my gosh. Everybody's just going to pack the bud and then they're going to get beat. So that's just the way we think here in Arkansas, Razorback fans. All right, we talked a little bit about Rob Smith earlier on, and I sort of gave my point away that I thought you pay him a lot of money. He's not really all that proven, and you probably could have got him for less. I wasn't in the negotiating room, so I don't know. I don't know what offers he had on the table or why Arkansas chose him and chose to pay him what they did. All I know, Weldon, is that Arkansas's defense is going to have to get better very, very quickly because, a point I heard made on statewide radio yesterday is that, what happens if Arkansas loses several games in a row next year like they did this last year? In a rebuilding year, you got new players coming in trying to fill holes and plug gaps. What happens? They need to turn it around quickly.
They do, and the thing with Rob Smith is it's not like, at least I didn't get the feeling that Arkansas went through and called a bunch of people and got turned down. I think that's another part of it as well. It doesn't feel like to me that they were reduced down to Rob Smith, as in, called John Doe, called so-and-so, called so-and-so. Oh, they all turned me down. We got reduced down to Rob Smith. It felt like to me, because Rob's name came up a month ago, that he was going to be the guy. So it was almost like, I want you. Like he just tabbed Rob Smith from the beginning, like he knew something. Rob said he had a relationship with Coach Bielema. They knew each other for about 15 years. I guess their paths crossed at some point, and their philosophies matched up. And that's what Coach Bielema is all about. He's all about relationships and the mesh. Doesn't really care if your resume isn't as hardy as some other people. He just wants to make sure you mesh with his staff, his football philosophy. And I think ultimately that's what he did, because that's something way I can explain identifying a guy who's not, I won't say he's not super qualified, but a guy who doesn't have an extensive resume, you tab him that early, had to be a relationship type issue.
Do you buy Brett Bielema's comment that he had some big names, and he said something like you'd be surprised who all expressed interest in the defensive line job, in the defensive coordinator's job, all these positions that they've had to fill? Do you buy that he's had some big names and that he chose these guys, or do you think that they fell to him? You
know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of after the 2007 season, when Reggie Herring was the interim head coach, and they asked him about the possibility of him becoming the head coach. He told the reporter, if I were the head coach, you'd be surprised who I could get for my coordinators. And nobody believed him, and he's gone. But to answer your question, look, if you know Coach Bielema, he's always the kind of guy who wants to convey that he's in control. He always wants to convey confidence that don't sweat it, I got it. I got this under control. I'm running the show. So I'm not sure if I believe him or not, because he does make an effort to project the fact that everything is under control. He's got it. He's running the show. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'd like to see the list of resumes that were submitted. I'd like to see the list. I'd like to see the text messages. We'll go FOI Brett Bielema's text messages.
3 straight coaches with text message issues.
To see who said no, who said yes, who was interested at all, because that to me is a conversation for another day. But anyway, yeah, I'm kind of wondering about that myself. Bottom line, though, all this talk goes away if Arkansas can produce on the field. Rory Segrest and Rob Smith will be the greatest coaching hires in the history of the world if Arkansas turns it around and goes above 500 next year.
Yeah, when every defensive coordinator, they always have the same. When you have a press conference, you hire a D coordinator. Have you ever heard somebody say, we're going to run a conservative, on our heels defense? No, nobody ever says that. They always say the same thing. We're going to have an aggressive defense. We're going to be an attacking style defense, even if it's not even their philosophy. And I don't think we learned much when he was asked about it. Rob was asked about, well, what's your philosophy? And he gave the answer every new D coordinator hire says. We're going to have an aggressive defense. We're going to have an attacking defense. Well, who doesn't? Who's going to come in and say we have a conservative, laid-back defense? Nobody says that.
We're pretty much just going to let you do whatever you want to, and we're going to let our offense win the game for us. 4-3 over. I don't know much about the defensive philosophy that he has, but I did hear that he's going to run a 4-3, and he's more of an over type guy. I saw Clint Sterner tweeted something earlier today about the look of the over defense, and I liked what he did. All I know about the over defense is that I liked using it on the NCAA games back in the day. I get lots of sacks. Of course, when I play the NCAA game, I just try to put a defensive lineman or a defensive end like way out here and just run past them, get the sack every time. I didn't play real defense.
That's what a lot of people did. Yeah, the over front defense is essentially it's about who's setting your edge, and it's the down lineman, the end man on the line of scrimmage sets the edge as a defensive end. An under front would be if your outside linebacker set the edge. That's really it's about just alignment and leverage, really.
You won't get that anywhere else.
Yeah. So.
Let's get out of here. We've got no more time for today. We're actually run overtime, so we appreciate you joining us today at rivervalleyleader.com for the Sports Blitz. We'll be back on Friday. I will be out of the office on Friday, so Weldon's going to have to hold it down. I'll be on the phone calling in to do the show via phone. I almost said via satellite, but maybe Maddie can superimpose a picture of me on the seat here.
That'd be cool.
That would be pretty sweet. All right. That's all the time we've got for today. For Weldon and Maddie, I'm Mark saying so long. 11 o'clock on Friday, we'll be back with more Sports Blitz live at rivervalleyleader.com.